Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. I am proud and glad that I have the opportunity to be with you guys yet another week here on the airways. We'll be talking to you with everything that's happening from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. I want you to like, tag, and share this conversation for those of you who are listening to us via social media world. All right. Let's get this conversation going. There's a lot that we have to discuss and cover on today. And I'm extremely excited to do that with you all on this afternoon or this evening. I got in the studio with me my main man, my partner in purpose, Jeffrey Bulls, aka Cap Man. What's going on, Jeff?
What's going on, Kareem?
Hey, we got a lot to deal with today. But you know how we always get started. I want to give a shout out to Matt over there. Matt is our new producer here for the show. Matt, what's good?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Matt. How is everything shaking out for you? Are you getting the handle of things over here?
Oh yeah.
Good. For those of you who are out there, shout out to everybody who is enjoying this humid weather. I thought we were going to get a little bit of rain for a hot second, but it doesn't seem to be the case as we have record temperatures going across the nation. Some places are hitting that 115-degree mark. I just don't know what to do with that stuff. I couldn't deal with Texas weather.
Not at all.
And everybody in Michigan from the Midwest who's getting used to these four seasons seems to be wanting to move down to Texas. Good luck, good riddance, because I sure can't do it. But y'all know how we like to get it done. I like to start by talking about what's on my mind. There's a lot that's on my mind. Before we talk today we're going to be talking about solutions. We're going to be talking about how we bring our community together, how we curb some of the violence that we see taking place, some things that we actually have in place. We're going to talk about things that we're actually doing. That's a change for once, Jeff. We hear so much about we need to do what, but today we are going to talk about what is happening in the community. And I have the founder of CAP with me, and I know you're ready to turn the dial on what we should be doing to what we're doing. I'm sure, right?
Absolutely. We talk about it too much. It's time to just do.
All right, so we're gonna get in. What's on my mind? Let's start off. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Spectrum for the donation, the gift of First War Community Center of $50,000. It was really a great occasion on Saturday. Shout out to Rob Brown, the kind of new, but not so new, executive director over at First Ward. He is doing his thing. He's meeting the community where they are. So they came through. Spectrum did wiring. It was just Jeff, there was wires hanging all over the place. There was painting going on, beautification with flowers, and
the landscaping was amazing.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so the landscaping was taking place, and what I loved about it is that they brought with them an onslaught of volunteers. They had so many volunteers. There were about 28 youth that volunteered from some of the programming. I believe the higher program over at First Ward. Board members were there, staff was there, and it was really a day of fun and excitement. And we have so many of our community centers have really, through this COVID period, had it hard, Jeff. So it was good to have something like this on the horizon that we can say, hey, this was a win. This is a building moment. There was a great sense of expectation of all the things that we're doing. And I know that you've been working hard over there with the Nave, getting that element of excitement and just building a sense of anticipation sometimes can be very difficult. So you can understand how great of a moment that was.
Yeah, great moment, man. I was excited to see you guys put in a smart room.
Yes. So two smart rooms were over there, tech training space. So many great things are getting ready to happen over there. It was just a phenomenal experience. There's a lot of things that are getting ready to be happening at these community centers. So get your youth involved with all of the programming that's taking place. We're going to talk about what happened with this Freaknik situation. And one of the things that people will say, because we've heard it a million times, is there ain't nothing for kids in Saginaw to do. That's why they do this stuff. Well, when we have certain things that are available, we sometimes have to drag kids to get them to take advantage of some of the things that are taking place. But anyways, kudos to you, Spectrum. Shout out to you all. Great job. from the board to the workers, the staff, the CEO, everyone that was a part of that great experience. It was absolutely amazing. If you get an opportunity, drive by and look at some of the things that are taking place, because the beautification on the outside was real. Tearing out dead bushes and weed pulling, and Teresa Stitt out there, she is a board member. She is the MVP of this weekend. She's a bit more senior than I am, but she worked me under the table. So Teresa Stitt, I give you a shout out for all of your hard work. Next, we're going to move over. Anita Baker and Babyface are stuck in the middle of an R and beef. Yes, that was a play on words, R and beef. Jeff, have you heard about this?
Yeah, I heard about Auntie a little bit.
What is everybody calling her Auntie? What's the issue, Jeff? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was just funny to me to see her on Twitter. Number one, like the people her age aren't on Twitter, and she's talking in the third person. It was just funny to see.
I'm sitting here like, good Lord, some of our folks need not have Twitter handles. Old folks lead the Twitters and everything else to these young folks. Instagram, let the young people have it, and continue to communicate through your music. For those of you who have been under a rock and may not know what's going on, there were some technical issues that the first couple of shows she did by herself.
Yep. And
then as this was her show, she invited Babyface to come on, probably on the third show of her tour. And during a show later in the game, there was some technical difficulties with some video programming or television that she does in back. It did not get fixed before the show. They're like, look, we got to get going. They didn't have enough time for everybody to be there unless they stayed super late. The audience had already been sitting there watching them trying to fix the stage for nearly 2 hours. And so it was the promoter that made the decision, hey, we need to pull Babyface, just let Anita go because it's her show.
Right.
So all you Babyface fans is out there, you get it together. He can still pay your rent. He can still buy your clothes. He can cook your dinner too. As soon as he get home from work, so that's what it was. And then I think just not understanding how to use the medium and understanding that social media brings out a whole bunch of trolls. They may not be Babyface fans. They may not be Anita Baker's fans. They're just people who just would like to get on there and create mess. Have created a dynamic into which two of our community icons, our music icons, needed to shut it down, get together, come back on stage, Babyface, sing a song with them. Let's squash this and show these young folks how it is done. Now, to the thing that everybody's been talking about, Jeff, this Titanic submersible. I don't even know how to approach this. Rest in peace to those who lost their life. I always hate when people die in any particular situation, but decisions change direction. These are individuals, and we know folks, and just because they're rich, I'm not saying it's because they're rich, but you make decisions, and the decisions that you make, you have to live with those consequences. Now, one thing that I knew that we were not going to find at the bottom in that submersible was a black man trying to is something that was not military certified, going down with sonar. It was just a crazy situation, an unfortunate and tragic end to what has been taking place. What took place, there were 5 individuals on board. The founder and the operator from Ocean Gate, a British businessman, a British father who was actually Pakistani, and his son. And then there was a French maritime expert that was also there. They were fearful that they were going to run out of air. What ultimately happened is, and for those of you who don't understand this, is that it imploded. Imploded is different than exploded. If they were down there and there was a catalyst on the inside that caused the thing to kind of explode from the inside out, that would be an explosion. But what happens, and people don't understand, I'm telling you, man, when God made this earth, the force of water, the force of the wind, we see it in these hurricanes and these tornadoes, all the tornadic activity that's been taking place in the South. These things are powerful.
Very much so.
And so what happened was, after you go down, and anybody who's ever done, I took a deep sea diving class, certified folk, with lifeboats and all. One time when I was in Jamaica, and they were talking about how you could only go so deep, because if you went down too fast,
A lot of pressure,
it would collapse your lungs. And in essence, that is what happened to the submersible. When it went down, the pressure on the outside collapsed it as if the thing was like a balloon, and it just smashed it. So pieces of that thing are all over the place. And it's crazy because they were about 1,600 feet or so from the Titanic itself. They were going down to see the Titanic and did not know that they would be becoming a part of the story and the wreckage that would be a part of history. I just don't understand it. I see some statements here. You find that submersible was partly made out of carbon filter. An Ocean Gate didn't want to abide by safety regulations. This is the ocean. We're talking about people. I'm going to tell you right now, if you got me doing something that is one off the mission, one off, you better come with the best regulations and safety standards that are out there, because I'm not trying to buy it. Now, I got to share this with y'all, and we're going to get into our conversation today. This is the craziest thing. I was talking on a different radio channel, and someone that saw me heard me talking about Juneteenth and the recap of what took place. Jeff, somebody asked me this question, and they were a brother or a sister, a person of lighter persuasion. They were white, and they asked me the question, why do we have a need for Juneteenth?
Wow.
They asked me the question, hey, I heard you on your show, and we heard you talking about Juneteenth. And, you know, I had to look it up because I didn't know what it was. And then when I found out that it was Independence Day for Blacks, they said, why isn't the 4th of July good enough? And, oh, man, you know,
Ooh, all right.
Yeah, that was a whole conversation in and of itself. Thank God for grace. I thank God for his grace upon my life, because I just, I took a moment and I did have time that day to just kind of get things together and to share some wisdom. They said, well, because you have Black History Month, you have Independence Day, we don't understand why there's a need for Juneteenth. And so I had to do a little bit of education as to the importance of Juneteenth and the fact that, if we're not all free, then none of us are free.
Absolutely.
And we see that right now. Certain sectors of us, because we have affluence or whatever the position, we get treated in a particular way. But until we all get treated that way, regardless of how much money we have or what position we hold, then there are still some battles and fights that need to take place. And I want to make sure that we all understand that. I want to talk to my producer real quick. My young man here, Matthew, he's new to this. Y'all be kind to Matthew. Don't eat him up. But Matthew, you're how old are you, Matthew?
I'm 17.
17 years old, and you went to what school?
Carleton High School.
Okay, he hailed from my alma mater. Matthew, have you heard of Juneteenth before?
Yes.
Okay, and do you understand the importance for Juneteenth?
Of course.
Okay, share with me your 17-year-old understanding, because this person was very mature. What is your understanding for the need or the purpose for celebrating Juneteenth?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Juneteenth the day Abraham Lincoln made African Americans free? If I'm not mistaken, that's what it is, right?
Well, you are on the field. You're in the ballpark.
On the right track.
You're in the right track, and so I think this is good because. And this is good because Matthew is, he's a young white kid that I really like. I've known him for, about 3 or 4 months now, Matthew?
Yeah, sounds right. Okay,
he sat in and produced on one of my other shows. But you're in the ballpark, Matthew. You understand it, Matthew. So Juneteenth is it is actually 2.5 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation by Abraham Lincoln, which did decree that slaves were free. It took 2.5 years for certain Confederate states to give up their control over slave labor because they wanted to continue to get that free labor, which was great. And so June 19th, Juneteenth is why it's a mishmash of the words together, was the day that all slaves down in Galveston, Texas, and those surrounding areas were given the understanding that the emancipation, in fact, had been signed and that they were free. So I appreciate your bit of wisdom. And I say that because our communities are not teaching this information. We've seen that there's not only assault on history, but there's on how history is taught.
Yep.
And the fact that we're not here trying to, the issue has always been, Jeff, I think the fear is that we want to paint a picture for this younger generation that white people are evil.
Right.
And that has never been the case.
Not at all.
Express the purpose for this in case one of my listeners are listening who doesn't understand the importance of why all history has to be included in American history.
Well, why would you exclude any part of history? It isn't just Black history. It's American history. It's just history. And so I think with us as Black people, we just want our part included in history. Tell the whole story. That's it.
Well, Matt went to Carleton where I went. And I'll be very honest, Matt, what you learned and what you understood is not very different than what I did. When I grew up at Carleton Middle School in the 80s, early 90s, what we learned about Abraham Lincoln, probably a week. We learned about Frederick Douglass. We learned about Martin Luther King. And that was the extent of our understanding of Black folks' role in history.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. And then it was on to other elements of Reconstruction. So I think that it's important to think, I'm a young Black man. That was all I got from my high school. And when I go to some of these other schools, they aren't getting much different.
Not at all.
And so as a young white kid to come in and to have just a basic understanding, I greatly appreciate that. Ruth Phelps Rushlow, it's been a minute. Yes, it is absolutely ignorant to think that in this day and age, people don't understand the value and the purpose of history. I had a history teacher that I always say, Mr. Rowe, you saw, said, what is the purpose of history? To learn from past mistakes. What is history? Records of past. What's the purpose of history? Learn from past mistakes. And so we have to make sure that American history, if it was American history and all these things were included, there would be no need for Black history,
right?
Because we understand our role and our place in this system. All right, so I want to turn the corner really quick. I want to talk about it on this side of this break because I want to have this conversation on this side of the break so that when we get to the other side of the break, we are going to talk about what we're doing to make a difference. All right, family, cousins, pay cousins, sisters, friends, and neighbors, everybody who's a part of the village. I need you to tune into this part of the conversation. We all heard about what's taking place with the Freaknik. Was that Friday or Saturday?
It was Saturday.
Saturday night. If you don't know, I don't know where you have been. My heart is heavy and I'm so distressed because we made even national news. They were talking about this on CNN, and it troubles my heart and it breaks my heart. Being someone who is born and raised and continually fight every single day for changing the narrative in our community. We just had an amazing celebration, Juneteenth celebration,
yes,
where the village came out strong in 3 different locations, making great things happen. And then we have this nonsensical mess to take place. Jeff, I'm going to give you a second. What are your thoughts as it relates to this Juneteenth celebration? Not Juneteenth, this Freaknik celebration. First of all, Freaknik. Have you ever been to Freaknik?
I haven't. And based on the videos, probably good that I didn't go.
Okay, well, unfortunately, I know Pastor Bowen had, before I was pastor, I've been saying my whole life, but we did make the trip down to Atlanta a year or 2 while I was in college at Michigan State University. But things had gotten so bad by the end of it that, they stopped having it, and students at Michigan State started doing something different in Lansing and kind of doing the similar thing, just without all the madness. But anyways, Freaknik, for those of you in the 80s, late 80s, 90s, was basically the Black folks' response to spring break.
Yep.
During spring break in college, all the white kids would go down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida,
Daytona Beach,
and party on, bro. They would do all of that stuff. And so Black people, they just started getting together. Everybody's hit Miami now, but they would get together and they would go to Atlanta, which is kind of like a Black Mecca. And they would go down there, and it was just a huge party, music, cars. Kind of, if you've ever been on Genesee here in the city, where all the cars would be packed in Genesee when people used to hang out on the side of the road.
On the strip.
Yeah, on the strip. And that's what it was. And was people hanging out and having a great time. But as people, young people begin to coalesce together, we bring immaturity. And then that's how I would have to say, we bring immaturity to the table. Youth is wasted on the young because we start pushing boundaries. We see girls' clothes are getting skimpier.
Yep.
We see people who aren't even in college that are now in the community that are part of this mix who infiltrate those spaces and begin to create elements that were not consistent with what people were going down there for. It was absolutely, Stacey, I know you had your days. Stacey Crosby out there, huge party. It was Freaknik was in Atlanta. Absolutely. Cherie still feeling Freaknik, unfortunately, can be duplicated. I'm just saying it was a moment in time that we had that those who were part of it. It was just one of those things of a generation. And so now there has been this, all over the country. And this is one of those elements where social media has the ability, Jeff, to move information faster than our mainstream media.
Absolutely.
Whenever you want to know what happened, when you hear, that something took place, what do you do first?
Jump on Facebook.
You get on Facebook, you get on Twitter, you check out IG, what pictures people are posting. But Facebook is really a media. It is a medium.
Yep.
That people get out there, they can find out what's happening, and you usually get the information, not necessarily always exactly correct, but oftentimes from a first-handed source from somebody who's been there.
You get it in real time.
Right. Millicent out in Texas said it can be great, just need to change up on how it celebrate activities that are fun and challenging to the age group present. Well, I want to tell you, I don't think that we can go back that way and do that to where it's fun. I think that it was something that ran its course, and we have to understand the importance of times and seasons. And I think that the season for that type of shenanigans is no longer. Do you think we could ever go back to those days?
Not exactly back to those days. I think we can relive some of it, but with caveats.
Yes. And so I think that's one of the key things. So when we look at this, basically what's happening, I know that a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, there was a Freaknik or something that the young kids were supposedly had done over at what was old
the Vets Park.
The Vets Park. And I looked and I was like, this is not the Freaknik. This is craziness. I saw folks hanging up on I didn't know you could twerk upside down on a basketball rim. And young ladies, for those if any of you are listening to this, the Freaknik was not about how naked you could be. That was not a part of what it was. It was about having fun. It was about enjoying yourself. It was about getting numbers. It was about finding out who was the finest young girl or whatever, finding somebody to kick it with, making connections that you could talk with people. And that's what the Freaknik was about. And somehow the only aspect of it is the partying, the drunkenness, the nakedness, which is not something that I think is necessary in the village.
Right.
But let's get to this. So no, times were different in the early 90s. Someone said, no, we can't do that one again. It was fun. It was our definition of fun. And our parents thought we were crazy, just like their parents thought they were crazy in the 70s, when they were having Woodstock and all of the other stuff that they were doing. It was a time and a moment in the season that we cannot do anything but relive certain aspects of it. I saw Saginaw High, perfect example. Saginaw High, I think they had their 40-year class reunion over the course of this weekend, and they did an 80s theme. So they brought back elements of the 1980s to the current time. So they did it with dress, they did it with music, the types of dance. That is how we're able to celebrate some of those past dates by using elements and components and celebrating the good pieces that represent good, clean, wholesome fun. Now, on to the Freaknik. How would you categorize, Jeff? Because you and I spend a great deal of time in the community, and we often spend time in those same spaces. How would you categorize what took place?
I think initially what they had planned, and I think that's what needs to be clear. I think initially it was planned, and they had it at Unity Park. And from my understanding, they had a permit to be in the park. And
Unity Park is which park?
It's the park right next to First Ward. It's,
in the back,
in the back, basically across from Gray Iron, the GM plant. So initially it was there, And we just referenced Facebook. I was following people on live. They were going live out there, and from all accounts, it looked like everything was going well. And then
the last couple of hours,
well, even before that, the police came out there and they got them out of there. So there was no incident there. But once they made them scatter, then they found somewhere else to go, and that's when.
And it became more of a house party on the corner kind of scenario.
They were just out in the neighborhood.
Yeah. All right. So one of the questions that I know that has been posed, and I think it's important, is why were they moved from their initial location?
I think that's a question that has to be asked. I know I talked to a couple different council people that have that same question.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. I've seen a couple council individuals ask, why were they asked to move? Why was it shut down from its initial location? So, and so there's a lot to talk about here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the foolishness that takes place. Because I'll tell you right now, I was talking to a number of young people that were talking about. First of all, I'm confused at how we can have an event where there's a 14-year-old in a location.
Not good.
And there's 44-year-olds all in the same makeup. So there is a real home question that has to be asked.
Yes.
Because a 14-year-old needs, their parents should know where they are. And if parents are not aware we're 14, that's a whole nother issue that we have to address. And what I want to say is this, and y'all can get mad at me if you want to. It's a whole bunch of 14-year-olds that's in the streets and parents have no clue as to where they are.
Right.
Then there's a whole nother group of 14-year-olds that's in the streets and their parents know exactly what they're doing. But as long as they aren't driving them crazy, they don't care.
They don't care.
And I think that is something that we need to address because it is a problem in the community and it will always end in a bad situation. But when we look at this, so the one issue is why were they moved from its initial location?
Right.
If there was a permit, which is alleged that they had a permit, and there's city council people, I've seen the social media traffic. There's some city council folks just saying, why were they moved in the first place? And then the other question has to be, why would we think that adolescents, because I thought this one was supposed to be for more mature folks. I didn't know what was going to happen.
I've seen a mix of everybody. So
why would we think that this situation would end in any other way when we add alcohol to a mix with folks who should not be drinking in the first place?
Right.
And I'm not sure what the fallout was or what happened, but one of the things that I often see happen is we are able to have a good time, and then it's the last couple of minutes when they had the Unity kickball thing.
Yep.
I was so glad that it rained after things had gotten going for a while.
I agree.
It was an amazing turnout. Shout out Chucky, Lawrence. It was an amazing turnout. I was so glad that it rained because it allowed us to have the start, the middle, and the end to an event without incident, and people can be nostalgic about that. And so this year we can look forward with anticipation, and people have an understanding of what's going to take place, and it's not violence. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to finish this conversation, and then we're going to turn to what's happening so y'all can have some fun times in our community, that we can change the narrative and we can get back to making great things happen, because Saginaw really is a great place to live, and we cannot allow a few knuckleheads to ruin what we're trying to do when we recapture our city. Stick, stay, don't go away. We'll be right back with more Straight Talk. This is Kareem, and you're back with more Straight Talk. Millicent Bowen, she has the same last name as I. Happens to be a cousin in El Paso, Texas. She says, if we could just find some influential celebrities or leaders who would get involved and motivate them with the things that could hold their attention, such as big stages for a karaoke challenge, fraternity and sorority step shows, best looking haircuts or hairdos, et cetera, et cetera. This is a vision of mine. I do agree that it's gotten way out of hand, but it can be changed. Somebody said that the audio went out. That's because we were at commercial break, Luther Whitson. So we were just kind of waiting for the commercial to take place. But I want to say this. I don't think that celebrities are the answer to our situation. No. Celebrities are great for a moment, but the reality of the situation is this is a situation that requires the leaders of the village. Now, let me tell you what has happened since then, and we're going to get on to where we're going to get with this. Since then, I've received a number of inboxes, text messages, phone calls, emails about what are we going to do? What we don't need is a press conference. I'm going to say that right now. We don't need another press conference. We've had all of those press conferences, so that is not what we need. What we don't need is people making, just statements on social media about how we already feel. We understand that. What we need are some solutions that are driven based upon our community. Now, community, this is where you can fit in and where you need to get in. Oftentimes when we do these things, we are too busy to really make the investment, to make the change that's necessary for our community. What do I mean by that? We'll have a date, we'll have an event, and there's always something going on. And instead of us investing our time, our presence in the events that we plan, we're going down to Hart Plaza in Detroit because they got XYZ. You're not concerned about what's happening in your community. Nope. And sometimes we get so caught up with the entertainment factor and living our best life. YOLO, you only live once, getting out there and enjoying our summer, that we forget that villages are built intentionally. Yep. We have to be intentional about how we build our community. And so, I don't even want to go back to that. Rest in peace to those who were hit or who were murdered this weekend. I'm not sure. Was it one person or two people? Two individuals. To the countless individuals who were hurt. By no means are we saying that this was your fault. It's a broadcast. You gotta wait. All right, I think that we're back. So if you're listening, those of you who are listening out there, I hope that you please take heed to the warning that's there. 60 miles per hour winds, those are almost hurricane force winds that are taking place. And in this type of weather where we see these cold fronts sweeping through, it is perfect for tornadic activity. So I want you guys to be smart. I know that as I leave the station today, because I'm right on that cusp, I was listening at 7:05 is what they're looking for here in the city of Saginaw. So batten down the hedges. Let's be smart. This is an opportunity when you get the warning that we can be made aware of, that we protect and we hide and we make sure that we're in the right place that we need to be. But before we were getting to this break, we were talking about the things that we can do to make a difference. And that's where we want to go, Jeff. We're going to change the narrative. And I was saying that we have to be intentional about the village that we're building. And what I mean by this is some of your plans sometimes may have to change to be a part of what's taking place in our community.
Yes.
The first of these events, and we got the Reverend, the Doctor, the Bishop Hurley J. Coleman Jr. He's gracing us with his presence here.
Pastor J.
I want to say what he's going to say. There is a reality that must be addressed. The opportunity for organized, safe, consistent, affordable recreation is almost non-existent in our community. There has been no intentional effort by decision makers to remedy this in at least the past 20 years. And I do understand, Bishop, that has been one of your points that you have been fighting home. We need green spaces and recreational spaces for our community.
Yes.
That means being intentional about creating a space. We spend a lot of times on what buildings are going to come in, what companies are going to come in, but these places are not going to stay here. These people are intended population for the future that we're trying to bring into this community is not going to stay if we remain as, the fourth most dangerous city in the state of Michigan, yes. Behind cities that are much more vast and bigger than what we are as a city. So we got to make sure that we're intentional about what's going to take place. Let's talk about that, Jeff. We've been having some conversations, and I know your organization, CAP. Tell us once again a little bit about CAP and so that how people can get involved and what you guys are about and why did you get started in the first place?
Okay. We're Community Alliance for the People. That's Saginaw CAP for short. You can find us at saginawcap.org. We are a local, grassroots, and statewide advocacy organization. What does that mean? It means we advocate for the community, whether it's housing, whether it's policing, whatever really affects the community in all aspects. That's what we're here to do. We're here to advocate for the community.
All right. So some of you are thinking, I'm not even a member of CAP. But I always make space for people who are doing great things in our community. When I first heard what their intention was and what they were doing, we had a common purpose that we were fighting for. Yep. And now we have another common purpose. We have to change the narrative in our community.
We do.
We've got to change what fun looks like to young people. And we've got to get old folks out of the understanding with the thought process that, we're going to leave it to the young people. We need the village elders to come back to the table. We're looking at doing an event. CAP has, I see this wonderful flyer, CAP Presents. For those of you who are out there, Jeff, tell us a little bit about the Saginaw Citywide Block Party.
So the Block Party, it came about, as Saginaw CAP, we do CAP Talks. And so we one of our CAP Talks, well, actually two of our CAP Talks were about policing. And so after we had those CAP Talks and people had, different complaints about policing and criminal justice and things of that nature, we decided that we wanted to do something. We didn't want to just hear complaints, complain with people. I call it trauma bonding, where you just, hey, they did it to you. Oh, they did it to us too. No, we got to start doing stuff. And so we took a proactive step. We wanted to meet with our law enforcement officials and even the top cop, the county prosecutor. And what came out of that was, we had a mixed bag. We had some good meetings, some bad. And so we decided that, we wanted to do something rather than complain about what they don't do. Let's do something on our own. And so the Block Party came out of that.
Yeah, I know initially it was about connecting with police officers, but I want to say this, first of all, to everybody in the village, please listen up and please have this conversation in the circles that you're a part of. We have to begin to show this generation what it is like to have fun. Yes. And no one gets hurt.
Yes.
Now, we grew up in a time where, we had our moments, back in the day with the Crazy Eights and the Clicks and all of that. I mean, come on, there's nothing new under the sun. But what we did have was we had opportunities where we had Block Party and we would have so much fun. We could walk around the corner and our parents not be concerned about where we are. We could ride our bikes all over the city. Yep. And nobody would be concerned about what's taking place. We have to begin to show this generation what it is like to have clean fun. because all of this generation has ever seen is, as you said, they're finding opportunities to trauma bond.
Yep.
This happened when we were over here. This happened but we have to begin to do this. So CAP is putting together what is the block party. It is free for all ages. We need everyone, no matter how old or how young that you are, to be a part of this. This is going to take place Wednesday, July 11th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. 1401 James Avenue, Saginaw, Michigan, 48601. That's Mission in the City.
Yep.
You know that as New Life as well, on the same place.
Right next to Stop and Shop.
Right next to Stop and Shop.
And that was important to us. We wanted to have it in the community.
Absolutely.
We don't, no disrespect to anybody at Hoyt Park or any of the other parks, but a lot of times we get quote unquote community events that aren't in the community.
Absolutely.
We wanted this to be right in the heart of the community where the people are.
And so the importance of this is because this area also represents a place that is also underserved.
Yep.
There are kids that are walking through the neighborhood looking for things to do. It is, in essence, really kind of the heart of the city.
It is.
There are some built-in features there that make this a great location. And hopefully as people are coming to that location, they're also thinking about what has been lost in that area. Schools, housing, stores. The health centers are right up the road, but there's so many other anchors that we need in the city that are missing from that community. And I believe that if we come together and there's vendors and food trucks, just give me an understanding of what exactly it is. I want you to cast the picture to the folks that are here. What is the thing that you're trying to encapsulate with this particular event?
Unity is what we want. We wanted to bring in service providers. We wanted to bring in food trucks. We wanted to bring in, all different types of businesses, big, small, whether you just started a business, have a table, tell everybody about your business or your service or what you provide. We wanted to truly unite all of these factions because that's what happens in our community oftentimes is that we don't know what each other is doing. You doing something over here, I'm doing something over there. No, let's bring it all together. And a lot of times when you come together, you find commonality. You
Absolutely.
Find a partner to work with. Some of these organizations, they're doing their thing on their own and they don't know who else to reach out to. Well, we're all going to be right there at that park together. And, our charge is hopefully, people will find commonality with each other and unify.
And the cost of this is fun and smiles.
Yes.
You got to bring good vibes only. I think that this is so important to what we're trying to build, because I'm going to tell y'all, we looking crazy out here in these streets. Yeah. We look like every time we come together, there's another moment that's created, as you said, for trauma bonding. People are wondering, how can we talk about issues with police? And I'm gonna just throw them out there. We talk about, you complain about the police, but y'all shooting and killing each other yourselves. And we can continually talk about the issues and the narratives and all of the other things that go along. But let me say this, Saginaw, can we get together and just have a good time? Are we able to create an environment where our young people can come, feel safe, and just have a lot of fun? Yes, Matt.
I'd like to say what me and my friends say. Leave the beef at home.
Leave the beef at home. There's a commercial back in the 90s. Where's the beef? Hopefully, we're going to leave that to Auntie Anita and Uncle Babyface. But we're going to have an element of fun. We want to bring in. And so when we talk about this, you talk about food trucks. You talked about having vendors there.
Yes.
What types of vendors? You said
all types of vendors.
But let's explain to them why it's important for these vendors to be there.
Well, I mean, when you think of even for-profit vendors, even if you have, you're selling a product, you're selling clothes, you're selling shoes, we want all types, not just food vendors, but, if you're selling, whatever services that you provide that, you feel like is a benefit to the community, we want you all to come out and have a table there and be a part of something special, man, and be a part of something that's going to be safe. It's going to be family oriented. And we want the whole family to come out, from grandma on down to the grandkids. Come on out.
And the great thing about this is, and I'm going to tell you, the celebration that we have, the African Arts Cultural Festival. I think I got it correctly. Did I say?
Yes.
Because I always want to say Black Arts Festival. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the African Cultural Festival.
That has always and long since been. One thing that I love about that is that the village elders do a great job of setting the precedence from the very beginning.
We have to.
We ain't about the shenanigans. If that's what you're doing, leave that at home. And they set that precedence from the very beginning. We're doing the same thing with this particular event. We're saying, hey, this is about good vibes only. This is about bringing the community together. It's important if you're working with youth or if you have a program with youth, even if this isn't the season that they're in, we want you to come out and get a table. Community service organizations are free.
Yes. Yep. They are.
Okay. So if you're working with young people and you have something that they want or that they like or that they need or you feel will be beneficial, you get your table free.
Yes.
Okay. Just bring the table. You get your space free. But for all of these other vendors, it is really nominal, the fee.
Very minimal cost. If there's a $50 fee for a for-profit vendor. There's a $75 fee for a food truck. And, food trucks normally pay anywhere from $150 to $200 wherever they go. So we didn't want to do that because we're not trying to make any money off of this. We're just trying to have a good time and, maybe cover the basic costs of what it takes to throw a party like this. But ultimately, we just want to have fun, an old school good time. We're gonna have some freeze cups out there for y'all.
Freeze cups, double Dutch, spade games, bones.
Yes.
This is about bringing back what we consider the good times. Me and Will Smith are mad at each other right now because I'm still not forgiving him completely for the snap. But if you could imagine his song Summer Madness that he had,
yes,
that is the vibe that we're looking. We want people to come out and enjoy themselves, mothers, uncles, cousins, grandmoms. This is an event that you can bring your grandmother to and you can bring your 2-year-old to.
Absolutely.
It is about, hopping in, water sprinklers, basketballs. We got all kinds of games and opportunities. We want the sack race. When we was kids, those sacks, they must have been a little bit bigger, or maybe we were a little bit smaller, but you could get both legs in the sack. Now you can only get one in the sack.
Right.
I'm going to blame it on the bag and not on our personal growth efforts. But we want those kinds of opportunities, and we need – look outside. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I saw them clouds coming. It
got dark.
We're going to be stuck here at the station.
Right.
I hope it don't knock our fence down. Our fence is broken.
Oh, really?
We are back here. I know that you guys are saying the sound has gone out. It's because I don't know if you've taken a look outside, but make sure that you all are somewhere safe. I'm actually going to stagger my time leaving here today because it is nothing nice on the outside. I'm actually a little bit apprehensive about sitting here. And we have a huge window in the studio that we can see out, and the weather has darkened. It looks like it is now nighttime over here. The lights are coming on, and it looks like that what they said is coming. I want you guys to make sure that you are safe. Get somewhere safe with 60 miles per hour winds coming. That is very dangerous and destructive. If there's things, plants, and items that are outside your house that need to be moved, I would say please do that ASAP. We need everyone safe, okay? That's the name of the game. Safety is the name of the game. And just make sure that you're taking care of yourselves. The rain is coming down. Certainly the winds are coming in. We see trees are now bending to the direction of the wind. And so we want you all to be safe. You've got young children, teenagers that are outside or in, please call them and tell them don't rush to get home. Get somewhere where they can take cover and be safe because this is a very fast moving storm and we need everybody to be okay. We were talking about this. So what we want to do is we want to give you guys, if you're interested, yes, Sharice Steele Phillips, I love me as well. And I love my brothers in the studio. We're going to play it smart here. I'm not just going to jump out there and jump in the car and take off, but we're going to be smart. If we need to just kind of sit here at the station for a period of time, I'm going to request that everyone does that as well. But if you're interested in being a part of the Saginaw Cap Block Party, this is a citywide event. If you're a part of the city and you're coming with your good vibes, I want you to contact Danita Dorsey at SaginawCap989@gmail.com. That's Saginaw, CAP989@gmail.com. All right, so that is fully underway. I see Jeff beat me to it. He also put it in the social media stream for those of you who are watching us via one of the social media platforms. Jeff, this is a fun event.
Yes.
But there are also some things that are coming up as it relates to young people and getting involved, being proactive in what happens in terms of juvenile justice that CAP is doing. Let's talk a little bit about that as well.
So another piece of meeting with the county prosecutor was bringing the idea of juvenile justice to the forefront. Currently, there's nothing in the system that could be used as a deterrent for our juveniles, our young folks, from actually going to jail or going to prison. Like there's nothing to that the prosecutor can point to say, hey, let's change the course of this young person's life. And so myself and my CAP partner Danita, we met with our county prosecutor John McCogan and brought the idea of having some sort of program to deter children that somehow get into the system. And let's not get them charges, but let's change the course of their life. Let's put them in a program of some sort. And he was open to it. I mean, he brightened up, like he sat up in his chair. So I wanted to, give him that credit. Like he was open to that idea. And so that's something that we're working on. We're bringing in, a few different people to try to put together a program to make sure that happens.
So for those of you who are listening and you're probably saying, what is juvenile justice? What Jeff just said, it is creating an opportunity for young people who do foolish things, because as young people, we do stupid things
all the time,
so that they don't get a record right away. And so we find other things and other ways for them to pay, quote unquote, restitution, if you will.
Yes.
One of the things that used to happen before, because a good friend of mine, Paul Elam, down in Lansing, used to run this program, is that they would go and, if they say they stole something from a store, the courts would work with the store and other mentors, and they would go back and work, a community service in that particular store. Maybe it's cleanup, throwing trash away, whatever. So it takes a total buy-in from the entire community, but it is a way for us to teach our young people that a life of crime doesn't pay,
right.
That they have to pay for the things that they've done by giving restitution to that community. But it just is a way for someone who is under the age of 16, 17 years old, if they make a stupid mistake, that they are not held to that and have a felony or a higher level misdemeanor for the remaining of their lives based upon something that they did as an adolescent.
Right. It's called a diversion program. Basically.
Absolutely. And so there's all kinds of programs that are out there. So these and other things, there's some things that are happening with Saginaw Cap. Pastor Tatum out there of New Life. We want to say shout out to you. We certainly thank you He is not new to the community, but he's renewed to the community, stepping in for Pastor Bradley. He's been doing some amazing work on every single front that we see taking place out there. And I want you guys to please, let's be intentional. We're going to be doing some things as it relates to mentorship, getting in front of these young men and women and talking with them about alternatives to some of the decisions that they're making. This is the time. We are the people. This is the generation that we can make change happen. I hope you guys, Jeff, I want to say thank you for tuning in and being a part of this conversation, plugging in with us today.
Thank you.
Matthew, thank you for continually keeping me in line over there on the board.
Anytime. And
those of you out there in the community, let's make Saginaw, and I said I would never say this, and I'm about to say it, real. Nah, I still didn't say it.
We ain't saying that.
Saginaw is a great community. Let's keep it real. Sagnasty is our community. Right. We're going to fight for it, keep it alive. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves and each other. Grace and peace.